Dear colleagues, dear friends, good afternoon. Thanks for coming. I'm very glad to see such a reputable audience and that you are interested in the topics we're going to deal with today. Do we really support SMEs? If we do, how do we support small and medium-sized business and what problems and challenges we have? We're going to talk about three main issues, which based on the polls and practice of corporations are the basic ones. Number one, facilitating access to financial resources. Number two, facilitating access to procurement. And number three is doing away with market blindness that the small and medium businesses currently have, many of them. So let me say that we're going to have an interactive discussion. That's a new format we are testing today. And let me start with the first deputy chairman of the government, Igor Shuvalov. Thank you for your applause, and I don't think you need me to introduce him, but let me say just a few words. He went to army. He was a soldier. He was a student of the law department of the Moscow University, cum laude, and he has always been successful, and he's been working for quite a long time in the government, and we collaborated together for a long time. Can I go? No, no, no. This is exactly why I will ask you to stay. And Dmitry Tulin, first deputy chairman of the Central Bank of Russia. He has a wealth of experience, diversified experience. He was the chairman of Russia in the IMF. He was the first successful head of VTB Bank, and he has for 3 times been the first deputy chairman of the Central Bank of Russia. And now, apart from the credit and monetary policy he's been dealing with till not long ago, now he's also involved in oversight. My name is Alexander Braverman. I am the head of Federal Corporation for Development of Small and Medium Business. How are we going to structure our panel discussion today? We have quite a tough agenda. The videos will take not more than 1 minute. And after each video, my request to the entrepreneurs is to tell us very briefly about your production, about your business, and what challenges and problems you faced when opening and developing your business. Just the main aspects. All in all, you have no more than 4 minutes each. And to stick to the timing, I took this sand clock from my grandson. He uses this when brushing his teeth, but I need this to keep to the agenda. And number 2, second important part of our colleagues without whom nothing can happen in this country is the governors. We know the governors have quite an extensive presentation, then they have a lot to say, but again, we will give them only 3 minutes each. At the same time, we'll ask the representatives of entrepreneurs alliances also to make very brief presentations. The only exception will be given to our colleagues who analyze the quality of procurement. These are our colleagues from International Interfax System using Spark and Spark Marketing. And we'll ask Vladimir Gerasimov to take 5 minutes to tell us about their findings and the key privilege to our co-speakers and panelists is 6 minutes. That's all they'll have. And I would like to be the timekeeper in our discussion, and we also have the head of Federal Project Office, Andrei Slepnyov. Andrei, where are you? Oh, yes, I see you. Andrei, because small and medium business and development of entrepreneurial initiative is one of top priority projects for the government. And before we start our discussion, not just because it's trendy, but for us to understand where we currently stand, I'd ask our colleagues to turn on their voting devices and answer the question, does the business feel any changes in its activities today? And here, please don't vote. I'm asking only the business representatives to vote as answering this question. If there's any conflict of interest, it's like Marina Vladyan, who's also a businesswoman and the vice president of Opora России, like Yelena Dubova, the vice president of Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and of something else, she too can vote. It's like the joke goes, which way are you going to? Both. So, the representatives of regional authorities, representatives of state-owned corporations, please abstain from voting. Okay, how do I give the start for you? Please press the buttons. And while you are voting, it's going to take approximately 2 minutes. This is how it currently is available. And thanks to the organizers for having this voting opportunity. And in the meantime, I would like to ask Sergei Yudin to get ready with his presentation. Are you there? Good. And before I ask you how you voted, you can get ready and tell us about the Green Valley project and all the entrepreneurs who are going to make their presentations. Please focus first of all on your problems you encountered. And now we are waiting for the results of the vote. Yeah, I know it takes time. Yeah, we have it. Good. So, what do we see here? Approximately 25% felt, more than 25%, 26% felt support. Those who did not feel support, or those who felt the aggravation of the situation, are the majority of the voters. And that's not a very optimistic outlook, but we feel the concentration of resources in 26% of businesses. Okay.
Северский Донец входит в агрохолдинг
Северский
«Зеленая
Донец is
долина»,
part of Green Valley Agricultural Holding, growing cattle in Belgorod region. In December 2013, the company got a guarantee of NSP and fund. The guarantee was for 1.6 billion rubles. A credit line of Sberbank was opened to the company to the extent of 2.3 billion rubles. The money was invested in setting up of a dairy production, producing more than 100 tons of milk every day and giving job to a lot of people. Good afternoon, distinguished participants. I'm grateful for giving me the floor and represent the dairy industry in this forum. First of all, let me voice the key goals in the dairy industry. The government set. It's ensure a full cycle production, food safety and security, and development and social stability of rural areas. And we need to increase by 7 million tons the production of milk, which will be possible due to setting up of 200 dairy farms, which would require approximately 560 billion rubles. The Green Valley Group of companies has been working in this market for more than 6 years, and we have built or reconstructed dairy facilities with a production volume of 76,000 liters of milk of high quality. The resources, the milk per year, with a cost of 2.2 billion rubles. And the first construction site was the first production facility was already delivered last year, and we are going to deliver the second stage of the project in the fourth quarter of this year. And this project is being implemented with the all-round support of all development institutions, including the cooperation of small and medium entrepreneurship. And within 1 month, your time is running out. Sorry to interrupt you. So we developed a joint business plan, and we got a guarantee for 1.6 billion rubles to open a credit line. At the level of the regional government, we got all possible support. And once again, let me tell you about the key financial parameters of the project. The total cost of the project is 2.8 billion rubles. 570 million rubles is our own resources. The rest was covered by the credit line. And considering the body of the loan, the total amount to repay is 5 billion something rubles, which is nearly 200% of the cost of the project, and 8.25 was the interest rate, so the net financial load is 3.8 billion ruble, which is nearly 8 rubles per 1 liter of milk. Implementation of such investment projects is a complex task and requires support of the state. Could you please talk about the problems? The problem is that currently the government has made a decision to support producers of agricultural produce. And this helps us to reduce our cost burden, and for 4 months we can expect subsidies. We recalculated the cost of our project considering these privileges, and then we have a 5% net burden, and we tried to reduce the bank loan rate by 2.2% so that it's now on the total 12% annual rate, and the payback period was reduced by 3.5 years. Thank you. Sorry. Either you tell us what problem you have or you go. The problem is that currently we need to discuss the instruments that would make it possible for us to reduce the loan rate to 5%. Using a bank loan, or it's 4.3. We would like to reduce the interest rate to 12.3 at least. How do you think so? Maybe revise the policy of lending, banking policy of lending, I don't know. Thank you. Thank you. You can go. In the 6.5 program, the so-called program, the most effective program, the effective rate for medium-sized businesses 9.6%, interest for small businesses 10.6%, but for medium business it's 9.6 and 0.5 to 0.1%, and there is a special order of the Russian president on this, so that the banks with prevailing state equity should discuss a set of measures for support of SME when a state corporation is giving a guarantee or a warranty. The vice president of VTB Bank is the first one I would ask about this. Yes, 6.5 is the program that already showed how efficient it was. We issued loans for 30 billion at 8.5, at 9%. Annual interest rate, 54 regions, 200 borrowers, and the agriculture is the sector of economy #1 in terms of the volume of loans we issued. And this effective rate, I think, could be about a few percent only, considering the practice we see. We'll see now the new subsidy mechanism is going to be launched by the Ministry of Agriculture. It's a more market-oriented mechanism. We very much hope it will work. But once again, I would like to ask the Central Bank of Russia to somehow support this 6.5 program. Do not stop it. Vice reduction of the interest rate happened mainly in the second part of last year. We have 280 transactions in our portfolio for 238 billion rubles of total. And I would like to say that, talking about problems, we work slowly, and the majority of transactions were concluded in October, November, and December. And the new interest rates that will become effective, they will appear only next year. And when calculating the business plan parameters, the entrepreneurs will be able to take this new interest rate into consideration when doing the calculations for the project. Thank you very much for the comments. I have a question to our distinguished panelists. First of all, to Dmitry Tulin. The 6.5 program, which is based on central bank funding at 6.5% interest rate. We know the position of the state corporations. On September 21, 2016, an instruction of the Russian president was issued on discussion or consideration of possible further reduction of the loan rate. We cannot force the banks to discuss this, and nobody wants to force them, because we understand that the banks work for profit, which is quite legal and understandable. But yet, could you answer the questions, please? Thank you for the question, distinguished Mr. Moderator. Dear colleagues, this 6.5% program, it's not only being stopped, but over the past years and months, it's been only going further. And over the past 2 years, the debts of the banking sector to the Bank of Russia using the 6.5% refinancing rate increased 3.5-fold. And now the accrued debt of the banking sector as of the end of last year is 91 billion rubles, and there's even a possibility to increase the volume of lending of banks under this program, because the limit which has been set is more than 91 billion. So this means that the program is being further implemented. But honestly, I would say that if I were you, I wouldn't expect in the coming 1 or 2 or 3 years, I wouldn't expect the decline of the current beneficial loan rate. So well, currently this rate doesn't seem as good as it used to be, but still it's a good rate. It's a preferential loan rate, and taking all the banks participating in the program, 6.5%, the margin that they offer to you on top of this 6.5, it's 3 or 4%, it's 9.6 or 10.6 for a small business. This margin is quite a small one. As a bank official, I think this margin, it can barely cover the bank's losses in case of non-repayments. So I think this is a good rate. Thank you. And second part of my question, what do we have to do for the banks to consider a possibility of synchronous collaboration with the corporations? I mean, reduction or nullification of the 4.6% weight for small business and for medium business. In corporations, we already see the result of the changing policy. If 0.4 will be added by the banks, what does the central bank has to do, and what do the banks have to do? Like the board of directors of the system foreign banks or whatever. I think we need to have the political will for such a change, and I also see some positive progress in this respect, at least in the banks whose equity is under the state control. I think it was some 6 months ago, Igor, no? There was, on September 1, no, I think it was even before, there was an order of the Russian president to restore the key performance indications for the top management of companies so that their benefits would depend on the growth of their corporations, and the preliminary results in the banks where the state funds element, they started a good trend. And talking about all the banks, what do we need to do to reduce this margin, the bank's margin, when they attract funds at one loan rate? Then they add their margin to earn profit, and the final loan rate is the rate at which they lend money to small and medium enterprises. And all the banks need to improve their loan issuance processes. I mean, this should be better structured, the risks should be better analyzed, and you should better select the borrowers. Let me explain what I mean. Statistics is a simple thing. As of the 1st of December last year, the overdue loans in the banking sector were 14% something. And the loans which are classified as category 4 or 5 by the central bank, which means very high probability of 100% loss for the bank, these loans are numerous. And this shows, on the one hand, the difficult financial situation of the borrowers, and on the other hand, low quality of banks analyzing and selecting the borrowers. And if nothing changes, the businesses can forget about low interest rates. Because what kind of margin do you have to add if 14% of the loans issued will never come back to the bank? It means that you should add 14%, right? That would be a sky-high loan rate, which means that the banks need to improve their quality in processing loans. And what about the MSP portfolio in your bank? Now, you know, this is a twofold question. We have loans issued in 2014, 2013, and 2016. Talking about small enterprises, in 2013 and 14, 22% of loans are not repaid. If you take the medium enterprises, then the bad loans would be less than 14%. But from the second half of 2015, the quality of the loan portfolio improved very much, and now it's very close to 11 or 12% of bad loans. No, I have a different comments. In the first couple of years, half of the companies cease to exist. So this risk is a natural one for this SME business. And you understand that the larger the company grows, the lower the probability of default. 4.5% is overdue loans, and in small businesses, it's even higher. And we just have to accept the fact and the risk that half of the companies that are and will be incorporated will be dead in the coming few years. The state, for instance, adds its risks. And the first deputy chairman of the government made and gave an instruction to increase 8 billion to increase the credit and guarantee support of small business, and the second part, 8.3 billion, is for startups and for project finance with a high risk profile, which is quite natural for this segment. On the 1st of March, we are going to launch a new risk model. That's why the startups and the project finance will be fully supported, which unfortunately is not being done by the banks today. Igor, could you please answer the second part of my question? How can we implement this? I think it's strange that we are focusing on the cost of the credit resources, because if you talk about the consumer loans or mortgage loans up to major infrastructural projects, for everybody in this country. The central bank pays special attention to small and medium enterprise projects. We had very tough discussions with the central bank regarding the funding of construction of industrial projects, and we see that in SME segment we see a very good progress. We always look at the interest rates in the European Union, in other countries, and we see how it correlates with our macroeconomic framework our business works in. And again, I would like to say that here we enjoy special attitude, special support of the central bank. Of course, not everything is perfect, and there is a directive which is not supported by any further governmental documents or decrees, but it's about support of small and medium businesses, but something must happen to have this launched. I have been to Sberbank. Sberbank introduced to us a new credit product. Sberbank is working under strong pressure of the central bank and of the government of Russia, because we see that they collect money from all around the country. While talking about clients, there is an impression that they have millions of clients that place their money in the bank, and the ones to whom they issue loans, they are not very numerous, just hundreds. I mean that they have very few clients whom they can grant a loan, and in this context they will not be interested to grant loans to SMEs, and their money in the society, in this SME support, in the project of support of entrepreneurial initiative. In the framework of this, there will be a pressure, and not even public pressure, on behalf of the government, and we will have to account for what we are doing. If we came here, if we want to take a loan, there should be a business plan, but this should be a two-way road. And we are now developing this program. We want to give this knowledge for free on how to make a business plan, how you can apply for funding after analyzing the risks. You need to analyze the risks of the entrepreneur and of the borrower and the lender, and we have to develop relations with the state-owned banks and insist that we need better relations with regional banks because those who have a certain success in this respect, we need to support private banks as well, and VTB and Sberbank should participate in this contest. We have discussed consolidation, and in terms of the cost, small business already has advantages as compared to other potential and real borrowers. You know, I have a long comment, but you know what I wanted to tell you? What we do. At the initiative of the Central Bank of Russia, this program of 6.5, it's 50 billion till the 1st of July. And if we show the decline of rates in the system founding banks, so 31 bank is already being accredited, 17 are listed by the central bank as the followers. Please stay with us. And we will definitely, yes, Andrei has to go, unfortunately. He has to rush to the administration, the presidential administrations. I have three figures. We had a fresh opinion poll that was made by FOM. 7% would prefer working as a public servants, and only 20 would choose again to work in the private sector. 42% think that there is more benefit than damage from private business, and many people think that the state should actively support SME. And the goals of the project Alexander was talking about, and will tell you more about it, it's to help involve in the business more people and to set up new enterprises. And this is an all-round task, not only for this particular project, but on the whole, because these action items are being taken for a number of products. The KPI is 120,000 enterprises by the end of 2018. 120,000, yes. And other projects where we have small business involved, it's export. There will be of roads construction and so on in the context of creating friendly environments, including the services, including trade and so on. And all this requires active contribution of small businesses. And the project on small business, which has been prepared, seems to be one of the most well-prepared ones and the one better correlating with our goals. And I very much hope that this will help us avoid a lot of risks and implement successfully all the action items we have identified. And we know that there will be more than 10 billion rubles on top of the budget already approved will be given to this project this year. Thank you.
Business plans and all the rest of the materials, for which purpose all which is headed by the first deputy chairman of the government, and they will be uploaded there. And these are the top priority franchises which relate to setting up a comfortable residential environment, restaurants and cafeterias, laundries, hotels. These are workshops, repair shops, and so with the franchisee association, we're currently doing some difficult but nevertheless good work now, going down the Bank Avenue and creating competition for the systemic banks. I already mentioned it. So now Elena Dibova, Vice President for Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Elena, in a very quick way, about what, from the point of view, I mean, Mr. Shuvalov, he referred to society, and so the entrepreneurial community and the members of the Chamber of Commerce are the most economically active members of it, I would risk to say. So tell us, what is the way that the financial, that's your community, what kind of thoughts you have about the work done by the financial sector? Thank you very much. Considering a very brief amount of time given to me, I would like to quickly go back to the problems we're facing. First of all, we have a big request to change the name of the program 6.5 because we're immediately putting businessmen into stupor, because when you're telling them it's 6.5 and that 6 to 11, they already become disappointed. And we did a bit of a business survey. We found 17 volunteers from all of the regions representing small businesses in the first place, in between 400 to 300 million turnover. So we have adopted them, we fed them, we wined and mind them. Not a single of them took a loan. Now, what were the main problems? Don't give me an applause, because these are our tears. First of all, in all of the banks you find different requirements. We try to put together a certain template list of what is necessary to identify a certain algorithm. In every bank, in every branch, in every region, there are different lists, different requirements. So the question is, if we put together a program for authorized banks, and we have given them money, and so we impose upon them certain sort of universal requirements, why don't we do the same thing for the businessmen so that they understand what they should bring to the bank? Next, collateral. It's a laughingstock, you know, for a businessman who has innovative manufacturing and 10 million euros he needs for that. In the bank, he was told zero collateral, because if something happens to you, nobody needs it because it's so unique. We try to give apartments, you know, as collaterals, 80% discount. We were not able to. In the case of one businessman, he had 2 apartments in Moscow, 2 apartments in Kazan, 1 in Ulyanovsk. No, it wouldn't work out. So collateralization is being assessed according to something that nobody understands. But let me just recall the cadastre value, because it is not being accepted by anybody. As far as I understand, this is only taxation yardstick. We had another big problem which we encountered, that the deferred payment. There's none. If you buy an equipment, it's immediately not producing anything. It means that a businessman has to count all of the money that he has to pay right from the very beginning. Now, next, attributing something to the small businessman. Every bank has its own interpretation of Federal Act 2010, 300 million small business, if it's an excess of that, medium-sized one. There is no unification. No decisions are being made in the regions. The documents are all being submitted into the head offices. It takes about 2 to 3 months. You see, Alexander Anatolovich, I do feel that I'm having a very short period of time, so I'm really saying it as a tongue twister. And it is very important, the level of information available within this single transparent arrangement is something that we were not able to find anyway. So this is this is a needed program, but let's make it such. And I'm not trying to talk about the interest rates. They are very rigid. These interest rates are prohibitive. But as long as there are people who are ready to take these loans, let's make it a comfortable movement towards each other, rather than, you know, going around in tortuous circles, which we end up having as a result of our business survey. Thank you. That was a very good signal to us that it has to be also a two-way street. And about the level of information, the information program is something that we're launching very soon. But I would allow myself to quote slightly different figures. Maxim Lubomudrov, who's a Deputy General Director of the corporation. Maxim, within 6.5 program, what kind of volumes were made available? While Maxim is getting a microphone to speak into, I would like us, together with the businessmen associations, to work not on the basis of 17 businessmen who were identified, nobody knows how, but there is a notion of representative polling. We agreed on that with the opponent of Russia. We can agree on these things with the Chamber of Commerce, and then we'll be able to see what exactly the business community demonstrates. Maxim, what was the volume of the loans issued? As a beginning of 2016, we've given 50 billion rubles out. Well, all right, if these 17 didn't end up being within this 50 billion, this is something that we regret very much. Bring them to us. But on the other hand, without any doubt, we're going to It's a question to the banks, Alexander. It's a question to the banks. No, 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 this is to us. Whatever. Now, Igor Ivanovich, and they had the bosses of Igor Ivanovich, they said that whatever applies to small business area, this is the corporate accountability now. This is the area of accountability of corporations. That's the way it is. And so we take onto ourselves to deal with the issue of very direct and head-on interaction with the banks, and within our working context, very good working contact with the central bank and the government of Russia, we will take it as our responsibility now in terms of the level of information is concerned. We will take it as our action item. Maxim, thank you very much. Elena, thank you also very much. Whenever you talk, you are very much, saying things into the bullseyes, and that improves the work we do. Thank you. Now then, we were talking about agriculture, and specifically talking about the financial support and extending loans. It boils down into three areas. Agriculture with high added value. This is industrial agriculture, and this is a different part, not nickel one, but high tech. And we have APL Enterprise. Do we have a representative from this company? Within the time frame given, could you tell us about the project? Not a problem, the project. Do we have somebody? Just be quick, please, please. APL Joint Stock Company is the only one in Russia which produces epitaxial structures, basic elements for microchips and other components which are used in microelectronics. The company covers 95% of the demand from the Russian companies for this kind of product. In January 2016, the company was given a co-guarantee from MSP Corporation and the Fund for Facilitation of the Small Businesses in Moscow in the total amount of 119 million rubles, which enabled the company to raise a loan in the amount of 170 million rubles for further business development and an expansion of its manufacturing facility. MSP Corporation. Well, we heard a few words about our company now, so think that this side of the affair we're not going to cover more. The only thing that I would like to elaborate upon is that whatever we produce is in the foundation of the whole of the microelectronic industry. All of the companies in the microelectronics are our customers. They are our beloved consumers. And whatever we heard, which was 95%, we simply don't know because we based counting it as 100%. But quite possibly somewhere somebody bought a similar kind of product from China. We see a very close juxtaposition with this particular topic in that we hear recently, about sanctions, because effectively our consumers, some of our consumers, they suffered from these sanctions, and so one should say that the fact that in our time we were able to re-equip ourselves with an MSP, help from MSP Corporation, enabled us to say that all of the product that we produce is produced in Russia. Essentially, we were able to meet 100% this need from our companies. Well, I mean, we should stop expanding because we've been working with you quite actively, and so 100% coverage, practically. I don't know where the figure of 95 comes from. 100% coverage in terms of epitaxial systems and exports as well. Now, what kind of problems you are facing? Tell us about them. Tell us, all right, look, what kind of problem it is. When we took this loan, 170 million, I guess that we were one of the first ones as well. And so when we got the money, this 6.5 program, it wasn't there. It wasn't available, so we were able to receive this money about 1 month, 2 months before the program came to be. So it was really a big regret. We've got in between 16 to 21% interest rate. So here, I don't know, taking into account the kind of needs that and the kind of role that we're playing in the sector, I would like to raise this question of being able to refinance such kind of loans. Somehow, of course, the law doesn't have any recourse, but if it is needed badly, we know that it is possible to do even such things. So this is something that I would like to raise as a question. Right now, we work with the bank, and we are reducing this rate. But even though it will be 1.5 times higher, well, I mean, it's not 6.5 now, program. Yeah, after the presentation. All right, 9.10, still all right. Okay, 2 comments. Thank you very much. That was Vladimir Stetenko, General Director of a very good company. Yes, this company is being serviced by us, and I actually attended that factory long before this program 6.5. Not 6.5. Yes, currently it's not 6.5 program. Yes, indeed, they were a little bit ahead of the times. We had a conversation with Vladimir, and so within the kind of remaining balances that we still have, we will try and issue the new loans for the business development at a more attractive level of interest, and we will reduce the old stars. But certainly the companies which operate within such complicated areas dependent upon the government procurement, they might require certain additional attention because their efficiency and profitability and their revenue strongly depends upon the government demand, and we can witness that through the reporting in terms of when the contract was concluded, when the money was made available, and year in, year out, the results really fluctuate. So there's a bit like that. Dmitry, a very brief comment now about refinancing, if possible, please. Yes or no? And then I would express our consolidated view. Yes, about the refinancing, with respect to the previously issued loans. About the previously issued loans. Well, this is the issue of identifying priorities in the area of the government policy for the support of small and medium-sized businesses, because the financial resources in the hands of the government, be it the central bank or the fiscal system, they are limited. And so within the limitations, all right, 125 billion right now, and so respectively, there's got to be some sort of a consolidated position on the part of the government. What's more important? Should it be funding new projects or make it possible to improve the financial terms for the currently existing project? What's more important? What's more of a priority here? We are setting up the limits of authority, and we are ready to hear what the MSP Corporation representative think and the government colleagues think. Well, of course, the banks ought to be able to see their customers, and the bank need to enjoy a certain maneuverability and flexibility. But if you step away from the interests of a specific customer, you have to extend loans to new borrowers under this program. It must not be something, reinforced concrete. If you can see that it's a good borrower and you can trust its business, then you have to refinance it. I recall, and I don't know how adequate this comparison is, but I can tell you, when the parent capital was being introduced, some of the mothers were giving birth to children slightly before the act went into force, but they were not able to get this mother capital because the government was interested in new births. I'm sorry to say, if at all appropriate, but we are, principally speaking, are interested in the new business developments, because the agenda of business extension is a totally different thing. Well, new businesses means new jobs. You shouldn't forget about this. Although expanding the kind of business which is based upon the procurement from the biggest buyers, this is something that we'll have a short conversation later on. Now, the corporation's attitude in this particular situation, and the bank, which has become a family member, the MSB Bank, the position is much stricter than amongst my 2 previous colleagues. The bank is trying not to refinance the loans which had previously been issued, but rather issue new ones, but naturally at the same time analyzing the borrower's quality. We are interested altogether in expanding the sector. Thank you. Thank you very much for this. So then, there is another problem, and a very important one, which is the problem which we briefly touched upon, the problem of startups. And this is the problem of getting out of the garage economy. that the President of Russia spoke about. We have our colleagues who are very young people who are deeply involved in startups. Could you please introduce yourselves and tell us about yourselves, but also, as everybody else, very quickly, the time is up. Hello, my name is Lev Kiselevsky. I represent the Agro-Robotics Systems company. We are busy developing the automation systems and man-free agricultural equipment control and management. And I will tell you about the experience of raising funding for our company. In 2014, we participated in the Smart Guy program, which is the program for the development of the innovative entrepreneurship. Within this particular program, we received funding in the amount of 400,000 rubles. And to my mind, that was the best program for starting a startup because it doesn't require any co-funding and it has a very low level of entry with respect to the subsequent reporting. After that program, in 2016, we again participated in the program offered by the START Foundation. Within this particular program, it is expected to have an investment in the amount of 2 million rubles. And to clear through the tendering process, we spent some 6 months. Also, in the summer of 2016, we were giving the status of Skolkovo Innovation Center resident, and currently we are looking for sources of additional investment through that particular site. As far as working with the banks is concerned, we received our first experience at the point in time when we opened our current account in order to get our first tranche paid into it within the START program. Now, having come to Alpha Bank, we received an extensive list of requirements and documents which we need to make available, including the so-called letters from counterparties, because we were organized. Only 2 weeks ago, we certainly, comfort letters, which basically represent guaranteed sales. Yes, and the letters from our counterparties about our reputations, because we were organized only 2 weeks ago. We didn't have any reputation at all. After an extensive, so to say, assessment of terms and conditions, we went to Tochka Bank, and that bank enabled us to open a current account within 2 days. The bank people came themselves to see us, and so we were able to completely abide by the requirements imposed upon us by the foundation. And again, in order to raise investment, there is a grant kind of finance that could be made available through different sources, as well as different venture companies. Vadim, thank you very much. Principally speaking, lectures are important, but just tell us, what do you expect from the banks? Well, in the first place, from the banks, we expect during the business scaling phase, we expect a financial support, but simply because this kind of scaling doesn't mean or call for any sales history. In this way, we need the government to help us as a guarantor of this particular loan being repaid. Thank you very much. Well, I'm not sure that the banks are similar in their attitude towards the venture projects, and so I will have a question to Dmitry Olenek, representing Dmitry Ananiev, representing Promsvyazbank, which is currently the third largest bank in terms of its volume, but actually without the government support in terms of lending to small and medium-sized businesses. Dmitry, could you comment on 2 points? The first one is about refinancing previously issued loans in order for the current small and medium-sized business to be able to improve its positions. And second point about startups and project finance. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving the opportunity to say a word. Dear participants, our group of banks, which is Promsvyazbank and Возрождение, takes the work done with the small and medium-sized businesses as a strategic area. You told us, I remember at one of the meetings, that whereas for the big banks, this is to us is one of the main areas. And we're focusing in the big banks portfolio. It is only 2%. Currently, we've got more than 250,000 customers, and 150 billion is our portfolio. Within the 6.5 program, which is a very unique and a good one, last year we were able to issue a 2.5 some billion. But I can tell you that, of course, only the best companies may enter into this program because this program has almost zero default level, and even certain negative events take place in the economy, the default there is going to be zero. Now, the whole question is like in any good big program, at such a very low rate, despite the fact that the effective rate can be even 9 and 10, these are still the rates below the market level. So one should look at it about how one should improve this program. It should cover more because the bar of requirements raised by the banks is very high. And so to consider refinancing issues would definitely make sense. And there is a request from the market that we receive. And secondly, I would look into the ability to extend the list of sectors and industries because the service sector doesn't get into this program. And if a company wants to undertake some sort of an innovation or within the healthcare, just established a medical services center, then it cannot enter into this program. Such a borrower cannot be entitled to participate. And believing, taking into account the fact that central bank is more than scrutinous about it, such a continuous fine-tuning and an improvement of this program in terms of its affordability for important sectors definitely would make sense to be achieved. Now, from the point of view of refinancing, I'm of two opinions because we are also champions for new projects for refinancing coming up, but this is actually the question about the resources which the central bank and the government can make available. As long as there are additional resources, definitely refinancing should be done. That would only do good. If there are certain limitations, then new projects should be supported. Now, in as far as venture projects are concerned, together with the Opora of Russia, we're strategic partners with them. We allocated a small amount of money, about 220 million rubles, if my memory serves me right, as a separate venture project, and we are funding similar projects. And to my mind, there's no big business in it, but as a startup, as a certain iconic element, this is definitely something that deserves to be done. Irrespective of and acquire customer. Well, I mean, it's a bit of a signal in order for a new generation of businessmen to come who understand that many of the things that we do ourselves. And you simply have to have the skills, the experience, and resolution, because not all of the money can be made in the government sector. You can also make a very good profit in the private sector. Now, it is very important to simply possess this healthy balance, like common sense and competence. That's what I would describe it with. Oh, it's a pity that Mr. Slepnev left us with his data, because he was trying to show that only government sector can give you a profit. I mean, the program requires continuous improvement. I can see that there is already competition against the government banks. More than 30 banks participate, 31 plus 17. Yes, you know, it's a great tribute to cooperation, I believe, because the program does have a great potential, and the interest rate is not a big problem. So it's just an issue of continuous improvement of requirements, and so that this program, without increasing its default, greater number of companies could gain access. A short comment about sectors. The recent decision by the board of directors, our colleague and also the member of the board of directors, Oleg Fomichev, was very actively involved in it, in preparing this board meeting. So the board of directors made a decision to expand the 6.5 program to include healthcare, environment, and what was the third one, Maxim? Do you remember? Hard waste processing, recirculation, recycling. And dear colleagues, thank you very much for this part of the session. So we shall now move over to a very live part of it. Yes, what was it? Yes, please go ahead, Svetlana Yurievna, of course. Svetlana Orlova, please. Well, an important factor. She's the governor of the Orlov region. Yes, a very important factor is that there is competition now, because cooperation instituted such an innovative element. Why? Because if you take a look at our region, 7 projects with the cooperation, you find industry, innovation, agriculture there as well. Well, of course, we did this brainstorming, and that was the very beginning of things, because we were aware that the projects were very weak. It was very hard going in the very beginning. Yes, you simply have to keep control over everything, because we did some work in some of them. Now, Now, the bottom line, 370, from corporations, 920 general financing, 575 at 6.5, 7 real projects, which is Gorodishnsky cheeses with Trenton John, yes, adhesive manufacturing, a very high quality. Then the masks, which already do cover 30% of the Russian market. Pampers, they will be producing. Now, what did the banks did? VDB did almost 50 hectares, supported in terms of the fresh vegetables, and Sberbank also supported the Bretinsky sandpit, thanks to the fact that we started working with MSP Corporation. And now I'd like to focus attention upon the central bank. Dmitry, please understand me correctly. It's good to be a theoretician, but life is telling us different things. Mr. Shuvalov told us, look, here's the market. We are supplying peas to the Arab Emirates. We won't be able to keep this market for 10 years because setting up enterprises which for about a year or two and then completely switch their market presentation, we're living in a different world. Please come down to the ground. Of course, you were able to maintain the course. You did an enormous job, but right now you need to turn yourself slightly in a different way without giving up on 5.5. With my great respect to Elvira Sahibzadovna, I know, and the kind of work you do is difficult, but the small and medium-sized business corporation today became some sort of a consolidating core. And the kind of figures that we can see, quite clearly, a lot depends upon ourselves and the property that we have. We reduce the land tax and we expend it. Whereas in the past, everybody used to be trading. We've got everybody into it. Delovaya Russia, Business Russia, and the Chamber of Commerce. But what Elena told us, there's truth in it. I know Mr. Shuvalov himself is, walking around the banks, and he checks the way one can register, how one can pay for traffic violation and fines. Yes, Mr. Shuvalov went to Ulan-Ude, and he tried checking in his navigation device whether the landmarks were properly identified. Yes, particularly since there is a regional act on the regional policies being prepared, you would win much more. And through Vladimir Region, I suggest that we should hold a good seminar. Small businesses, Business Russia, or part of Russia, Small and Medium-Sized Businesses Corporation, Government Central Bank, VTB, Sberbank, PSB Bank. It simply, you don't need to listen to us. You need to listen to those who were trying to make their way through, who received the money and who tried to work in that market. And don't forget about the export center. Today it helps us export. And Mr. Shuvalov, we need to enact the law on international cooperation, something that sometimes the country cannot do, a region individually can do. And here we can also raise investments and enter into different markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For two things, I would dare disagree with you, though. Dmitry Tulin is a theoretician, right? The one who is in charge of oversight in the central bank and can withdraw licenses from banks can be considered a theoretician. No, I don't think so. This is my first objection. And second one, well, okay. Yeah, I do agree. Like a movie said, I have a dangerous work. I'm transporting money. Yeah, I'm not a theoretician. Nobody except for my family has called me for a long time Dima. So I have to answer the challenge. Thank you very much. The problem is that the government, the state, does not have its own money. The budget is the taxpayers' money collected via the tax system and so on. And the central bank is not collecting money, it prints money. But again, this is like an inflation tax form. So based on the law which was described by Mikhail Lomonosov, the law of preservation of matter in nature, if something increases in one part of the society or financial system, it means that in another part it will be taken away or decrease. So if this budget subsidizes the SME segment, for instance, or some types of economic activities, this means that whether we ask people or not, whether people agree or not, we will have to take something from somebody to give it to SMEs, right? And it means that we'll have to hurt somebody's feelings, and many groups will be really hurt. That's why we have to find the golden balance to support the ones, but not to the detriment of the others. Igor was talking about that. But the startups, innovative projects, unfortunately, this is an illusion. The banking sector, commercial banks, or lenders have never and will never be the locomotives or drivers in funding the startups. We had a similar conference 25 years ago. I think Igor Gaidar was even present at the conference. Then, in early 90s, everybody thought that the new banking system will fund all the investments in all new sectors of economy. At that time, I said, no, guys, this will never happen. The banks will never, ever play any major role in investing in startups. Now, less than 10% of investments in SMEs comes from the banks. Investments. And Apple, when they started in a garage, when they were assembling their first computers, I don't believe they had access to any bank loans. Nobody would give them a loan at that time, right? They were not eligible. In our country, we don't have enough non-bank funding mechanisms. We don't have venture funds. We don't have direct investment funds. We don't have other mechanisms when quite wealthy people with quite a lot of extra money, with the help of investors, they could invest their money. They could lend their money, but not just make interest on the on lending it, but become a co-investor. We don't have this in our country. And if the banks like Mikhail Vasilevsky from VTB, how many enterprises that are being created get closed down in the first 2 years? Every second, right? So this means that all those enterprises of small and medium segments will have to pay an extra high interest rate, because the banks will have to cover their losses or potential losses if they start lending to startups. So what do we do with the startups? We do have mechanisms of supporting startups. Of course, they are not sufficient, and we don't have that much capital, but we have a mechanism of supporting both the SMEs and startups. Let me say something. Dmitry, he's an intelligent person. He cannot tell a lady something that I can tell you. Okay. The Minister of Economic Development this week met our president. There was a meeting on how we will live in 2017. We have a general plan. By May 2017, we have to prepare a program for further development. So that's what we discussed in general. And we discussed the concerns of the market players. And, you know, it took us so much time, but we spoke about lending mainly. But that's not the main topic, because the information we receive now from the entrepreneurs shows that the main problem is uncertainty in terms of the very existence of their business. Because of the ruble exchange rate and the market uncertainty, they are asking us, what will be the exchange rate of ruble in a year? You are talking about free-floating currency. You know, this question is much more important than 6.5 or 5.5%. They're asking us other questions. What are you going to do to the simplified taxation system? What will happen to the tax rate and other things? It's a pity that we wasted so much time here discussing the things that are not top concern for SMEs. I'm not sure we have much time left to discuss the key challenges, but this tough. Uncertainty is challenge number one for the entrepreneurial community. I'm talking about small and medium enterprises. Yes, of course, nobody is happy with the cost of loans. You won't find anybody saying, oh, I'm happy to pay that high interest rate for taking a loan. No, that's not the key challenge. The key challenge is different, like I said. Thank you. We received from the small and medium enterprises the same kind of messages about the challenges. So access to financial resources is one of the challenges. Now, procurement. Can we see the slides, please? Could you do that quicker, please? I guess you can start. So, procurement. This is 1.5 trillion rubles for SMEs. It's 99,000 articles, 114,000 new jobs have been created. Is that a good progress or not? And can we consider these figures trustworthy, first of all? Okay, so to understand whether the figures are trustworthy or not, we received the answer regarding the total value of procurement under law 223. Then we subtract from it the money that went to SME, and then we subtract the rest, and we see the figure. And that's why I would risk say that these data are trustworthy. So what do we need to do next? We need to increase trust. There are two different points of view. Some people think that everything is being shared among related parties, related companies. The others are saying that the system is transparent. When we are talking about a two-way street, we mean inspection by the largest employers like Rosneft, Russian Railways Company, Rosneft, and Rosatom. Their inspection, and Gazprom as well, yes, sure. So we mean there are 255 companies like this. It's inspection to check how they met the deadlines, supply deadlines, and the quality, and whether the SMEs were allowed to participate. I would like to give the floor to the Russian Railways President for Procurement, and maybe Yuriy Zafesov and representative of Rosatom too will have 1 minute to answer the question. And after this, I will ask my colleague to tell us about the analysis that was made regarding the procurement system. Thank you. You know our figures. The figures have been double-checked by all the market players and by all the controlling authorities. When we are talking about the state support, we see that the state has done a lot in this respect in terms of rationing, in terms of favorable lending, in terms of giving access to procurement process. But we have another problem. The quality of services and delivery of goods by small and medium businesses. Because some of them think that if they have the right to participate in procurement process, they can supply whatever they want of whatever quality of services and products. But we do care. We do care about the timeliness of services rendered or product supply, about their quality. And we know that if a product is made of the wrong metal or wrong chemical composition of the metal, this can be crucial in certain context. So the quality of services rendered, the quality of products supplied is what we do care about. So please, I'm addressing SMEs, please don't be angry with our high requirements to acceptance of the goods delivered or services delivered. And we are going to even more accurately prescribe all these rules and requirements in our procurement contracts. Please don't be angry with us for this. Thank you. And please try to be brief answering my question. Yuriy and Irina Mitichkina from Russian Railways as well. I remember we started this work a year ago. We started with 62 billion and now it's more than 2 trillion rubles. Since I have 1 minute, I'll just comment the figures we have. There is an increasing trend. The total volume of procurement of purchase of services and products from small and medium enterprises, this year it's 120 billion, and at the end of the year it would be 170 billion. We understand this case, this figure. And apart from the figures we already see, we see that the total volume of and the total number of SMEs is growing, and the number of participants participating in the tender also does matter. The system started functioning in 2005, and if you take the figures in 2012, we had 3.6 participants, 3.9 next year, and it's the power of competition, yes. And this year it's 4.6, which means a big increase in the number of tenderers. And this is due to the effort invested by state-owned institutions, by other organizations to increase trust. This really works. Thank you. Representative of Rosatom, Natalia Yaroshenko. Very briefly, please, and while Natalia is getting ready, Sergei Vladimirovich, well, I said that I would not let you touch the nuclear boiler, but here the quality is important. Hi. The specifics of nuclear industry does not provide for placing too many orders with SMEs. That's why the figures Russian Railways boast about or others, we cannot boast about them. In 2017, the total volume of procurement with SMEs will about 70 billion ruble, and now approximately 30 companies receive orders from us for the total amount of about 300 million rubles, and we collaborate very closely with SME Corporation, SME Supporting Corporation, and taking this opportunity, I would like to invite all those present here to visit our website and see a chapter on what requirements have been lifted when we deal with small and medium enterprises, and you will also see what education we are organizing for SMEs, and at the same time I can say that making such big effort to ease your life, we very much hope that in return the contracts will conclude with SMEs with you will be performed with high quality and safely. We agreed to give you a bit more time. Everybody agreed with this, but we don't have much resource which is called time. I'm giving the floor to CEO of Interfax analytical agency based on Spark and Spark's marketing. They made analysis. This analysis will be performed in a systemic way. It will be performed either once quarterly or once every 6 months. And our colleagues should understand that the street has two sides. And that's what we are structuring. On an annual basis, we analyze the procurement markets, including the major corporations, and we looked at the procurement last year, taking 225 major employers, major buyers. We didn't see before, in the years before, we didn't see any signs of increase of competition, while last year we saw the competition was increasing. It was there, and it will definitely affect the situation in this segment of the market. How can we be sure that competition in procurement is growing? Number one is the number of bidders in the tender procedure. You see in 2016, the total number, the average number of participants, it's 1.69, while talking about SMEs, it's 2.9. Nearly 3%. And one of the problems which is always discussed when talking about procurement is high rate of orders placed with one and the same supplier. At the same time, we saw that 75% of orders placed with SMEs are orders placed with several suppliers. In the segment we analyzed, only 25% are purchased from SMEs, and this is what we see. What's the result of competition? Savings is the result of competition, and we see that in this segment the savings are higher. Under Law 223, the total savings is 1.6%. When placing an order for services or products with SME, the savings are already 18%, up to 18%, except for healthcare sector. And another important thing that we analyzed is who are the participants of procurement tenders. Is the risk of non-transparency and deals between affiliated parties high or not? Directly affiliated companies concluding deals, it's 0.9% of the total number of suppliers, which is practically nothing. Indirect affiliation of the parties of the contract, 3.42%. But this is what usually happens. Only 3%, in only 3% of cases, the numbers of telephone coincided. Or a company was created specifically for procurement. That's what many people say. We analyzed the companies, and we see that many of them were set up in 2008 or at that time, meaning that they have not just been set up. All companies accumulating all orders from one supplier. This is also not true, because 57% of companies have only one contract, 20% of companies have two contracts. Which means that there are no evident risks inherent. And making the conclusion, I would like to say that competition is the most important consequence of the changes in the procurement sphere with the major companies, and that's very important for the whole segment and for SME segment as such. And of course, this also influences the number of bidders, and you have to remember this. Bank guarantees, we have analyzed them specifically. I didn't mention that in my analysis, but bank guarantees help us involve more small businesses in the procurement process. And of course, you have to analyze the risk factors, like I said. But at our next stage, our creative goal in terms of analysis would be to monitor the qualitative changes, how the number of jobs created is changing, how the quality of companies is improving, and so on. This is regarding the SME sector. Thank you very much. That's true. Igor Shuvalov is going to cut me short right now because I honestly refer to him at the order of Igor Shuvalov. It took us 4 days to make a registry for the first time. It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now this is a systemic effort which happens every 4 months. Every 3 months, yes. Okay, and then we will inform the Chamber of Audits and the Federal Anti-Monopoly Service. And that's our job that we've been doing. Thank you. One more aspect, very brief one, we forgot to discuss is regarding certification. Many of you have experienced the beauty of this thing and the convenience of this thing. Marina Bludyan likes talking about this, but no way any technical requirements influencing this safety, quality, or deadlines can be changed. At the same time, no barriers, price barriers, or duty barriers can be imposed. Yeah, I can't give you much time. I'll try to be brief. Alexei, he's telling you Losha, but you cannot answer him Sasha. Dmitry, oh yes, Alexei, sorry. Sorry. I'll call you in your full name. Let me tell you in brief and understandably about certification, because there have been so many disputes about this, and we have to accept that this is a market instrument, which is an institutional one, and without this, no access to state orders, procurement orders should be possible, but many businesses forget about this. Everybody thinks that you have to produce a paper and you can get a state procurement order, but you have to test. You have to test the products, and for this you need professionals and you need professional equipment, which is quite expensive. And now we see certain problems. Like, for instance, on the one hand, via internet, you can order any certificate to get access to any market, even to state orders, markets. And in large state corporations, there are certain systems which, and for some of them, this is like a business. This is not a profit center, colleagues. This is a means of ensuring a finishing touch in the process. Yeah, and there are certain legislative problems why we don't have a fully fledged conformity certification. And the problem is that I think we need to disclose more information about voluntary certification systems. And we should also collect the information on the cases of voluntary certification, which is important for the state procurements contracts, where the Moscow Corporation, we made an agreement. And last year, we created our own national certification system, which we are planning to use to support and confirm the national standard, and about 20 organs of certification in the Ross standards system. They are ready to collaborate with SMEs to develop mechanisms of ensuring access for their products to the markets and procurement contracts. And if you don't mind, our certification center will declare that it supports the infrastructure of the small and medium enterprises Is that possible that your centers compete with the corporate centers? I don't see any problem with this. Based on our constitution, all property forms have equal status. No, I mean that if somebody wants to participate in a tender, if they bring from your center certain certificates, there will be no refuse. But we just need to understand what protocol you use. The certification organs and laboratories, they can work in any market. No, I mean that any corporations, first of all, large ones, have certain requirements regarding the quality of products because it's about safety. But for us, what really matters is not corporate certification centers, but yours. They should be also fully fledged centers that would be able to test and at the same time, the corporations will not be able to refuse. I'm talking about voluntary certification. Do you think it would be doable? Oh, it's again a matter of trust and independent professional assessment. When we are saying that the assessment will be made by the supplier or the buyer, this is not the best thing. A third person should be used in this case. And we subsidize the certification costs. And I think that for exporting products, you have to think about similar support for SME in SMEs, especially when we're talking about priority products. So step number 1. I think it's a brilliant idea, super productive idea Igor gave us to lower the price. Because achieving the second radical goal of transforming this quickly to another party, no, I think you should just work on the speed of organizing this process. We voted for revising Law 223 and the others, and now the state orders should be placed with large companies based on indicators in the current GOST. Thank you very much. That is a very important question which we touched upon. And finally, we have an opportunity to very briefly I see that. I see others willing to say something. Some very small part of people, they are starting to leave the conference room. This means that we've been talking for too long. People got bored. That's my fault. No. We have not left our seats. We are with you and supporting your discussion. Thank you. So, market blindness and what instruments will help or are already helping the companies to understand their implementation, the procurement channels and other channels. I would like to ask our colleague, Anastasia Gutsulyak, to tell us about this. We met at a forum which was chaired by Valentina Matvienko. 2 minutes, please. Okay, 2 minutes. Massage salon легкость renders services to children and to adults. They employ people with disabilities, blind people and or deaf people, but we needed to expand the area for the massage salon. And she used the SME Business Navigator, and with the help of the portal, she found the right premises of the necessary area to render all types of services in a comfortable setting. Thank you. We employ only people with disabilities. This is our second business project, and the main one is restaurants business. Today, more and more people aged up to 30 years open their own businesses. The next generation comes to the economy. It's the generation that comes after Pepsi generation, and we are looking for all the tools for our business and internet. On the one hand, that's convenient. On the other hand, we have a problem. I opened my first restaurant when I was 21. When I typed into the search engine how to register a limited liability company, I saw that I had to undergo 10 authorities and agencies. I had to do this and that, so it was a long list. Now I know 30 minutes in the tax inspectorate, 5,000 rubles and just a couple of documents, and I can open a business. And I've gone through this, and I know many of my acquaintances who have brilliant business projects. I represent here a very small business. 14 million a year is our turnover in our main business. The new project with people with disabilities, it doesn't make even $1 million a year. But there are lots of small businesses like we are, and this is also a part, even a small part, but a part of the economy. That's why many of us having brilliant projects, they do not know what to do because we don't see a step-by-step algorithm of opening our own business. And from this point of view, the SME or MSP corporation with its business navigator is a real breakthrough. You know, for young people, this is not evident. You just come across this by chance, but there is no advertising. There's no information about it. And I would like to see fewer people like me who just by chance discovered this brilliant opportunity, because this is a really cool resource. And secondly, in our region, in Ryazan, in this small town, we help young entrepreneurs. There is a school of young entrepreneurs, of those who just want to open a business. When they ask me what's the difference between LTD and a private entrepreneur, what has to be done to open a business and so on, we have so little information about this, and internet is a good tool to convey this information, but we would like to have some other resource which would give us a step-by-step instruction. You take this paper, you bring it there, you pay that much, then you go there. If you don't want to be kicked out of the bank, first you go to the tax inspectorate, take all the necessary information and documents, and then you go there and you do that. And hundreds of people who want to open their own business, they are craving for this information. 5 years ago, many people tried to discourage me from opening my business, saying, you are going to go bankrupt, you will not be able to make it. But I know it's doable. Okay. A brief comment, Nastya. We have to support you, yes. No, I don't want to count the time I gave you. We have a platform, we have a registry, and look, in the registry, each of you can enter the list of products you produce. And it's already our task, so that 225 major employers will send you an invitation for tender. And this would be done electronically, digitally. Now we have a business navigator. We refer you to this navigator, msp.ru. And our main problem is that you don't have enough information, and we are going to invest heavily in promoting these new tools and navigators. We have a business promoter. I'm quoting one of my highly placed colleague, because but without mentioning his name, you can guess his name, but if I tell you his name, I'll have hard times. So we have this business promoter, and we have a full platform to support SMEs. Anastasia, we are really trying to do our best. Unfortunately, probably it took us more time than we were supposed to, but still we did that quicker than our colleagues in other countries. Using the navigator, we found a new premises, not in 2 clicks, but anyway. And when we called regarding the new building, the new premises, they told us, you know, maybe somebody posted this in the registry when I was on vacation. So possibly some information in the navigator is not true to life. That's another problem. And applauding Nastya, it doesn't mean that we are the ones to blame, because we do this with a 2 weeks discretion. In online, the new Yandex can do that, but we cannot do that. And it's up to the entrepreneurs to double check this information. We'll try to minimize the volume of wrong information, wrong figures, rental or purchase price or whatever that will undermine the trust in this instrument. So you mean that you got wrong data from Ryazan? Most probably. And again, the entrepreneur should then take initiative and get in touch with the other party. And there was a strong message that we need ready-made businesses. But that's one side of the problem. And on the other hand, we want you to display your entrepreneurial initiative. Good, thank you. And second positive thing I'd like to say, everybody was talking about loans. 11.5, I worked for 5 years opening fast food restaurants. I took 5 consumer loans 5 years ago, and 4 credit cards, I got them. I have for restaurants, 28 to 48% annual interest is only servicing our loans with our credit cards. If anybody gave me 11.5%, not up to 45, 5 years ago, I would have been the happiest woman on the earth. Because 5 years ago, when we opened our business, we got loans at 29, 30, or 45%. And when you need it, you would accept that. Nastya, thank you. But Ryazan is not a small town. It's a big city.
Igor Ivanovich, speaking about the big and small cities, to all of the governments, we were able to fit ourselves into the time frame. And so on December 30th, we published a standard for our business navigator. Currently 25,000 municipalities, and this is already a question to the governors. Being in Moscow, we cannot, and we should not really reach out to them. Now, Marina, very briefly about the navigator. Marina Bludyan, she's simultaneously vice president of the Popov of Russia and the most active member of the working groups to develop all of our digital resources, and also a businesswoman. All right, yes, thank you very much, Nastya, for what you said. You know, I feel this very strong internal satisfaction because inside that business navigation, the Business Russia and the Chamber of Commerce and part of Russia in our working group, we do a regular work, and what we've been able to hear right now and what other businessmen were able to see, the fact of the matter is that inside our working group there is a very heated debate going on, and there's very good, very much forward-looking project is being born. But I can boldly describe it as a global educational, specifically project which teaches how to do business, because essentially there are resources which show all of the listed documents which you need in order to incorporate the business. A unique kind of project. Nobody ever did it like that. You can measure the consumption flows, because within this project thousands of households were polled and questioned, and in a continuous manner they do work with special scanners, and inside such business navigators consumer flows are being measured. Small businesses never would have been able at their own expense to do such a study, and I confronted such a study only when done on, and Nestle did it, which within their market category were undertaking such global surveys. In here, it is being done continuously, and you can trust the results of the Business Navigator. But of course, this is all a guideline. And inside the Business Navigator, there is a feedback possible. So please, anybody who is facing the situation when this particular address doesn't call back or the price is in a mismatch, please use the feedback, because the Business Navigator, it's a self-tuning device, and other businessmen will have a more precise information, and it already becomes a two-way street. You have to be able to cooperate with this project, because to us, the businessmen in it, and I mean within the working group, we came up with a new idea, because, and by the way, just to a word about the registry, I would like to underscore it again. This is the registry of the small and medium businessmen. It has been set up within this particular project also as a tax service, which connects itself with the Federal Tax Service, and you find this particular registry in the Business Navigator as well. And thanks to this registry, the first thing that we were able to get, audits were reduced in numbers, because, Elena, I do agree with what you said, because people start asking you, how do you prove that you're a small business when getting lending and when going through the audits? Why cannot we audit you? How can you prove that you're a small business? Today, this registry is a full proof of you being a small business. And inside itself, this registry contains information, and everyone who is in this registry is entitled for free to submit data in terms of what you are busy with, and you end up being in this global project. You will be able to be seen by the government customers, by your colleagues, by your consumers. Just do use these resources. Now, in terms of the government procurement resource, a lot has been mentioned here, and about there being a need to ensure access to the government procurements through various standards in the system of confirmation of compliance. That was mentioned, thank God, and it is very important in order to eliminate any barriers here. And so this government procurement registry should do some proper work. But within the business navigation, it is developing. This is a developing system. I'm continuously comparing it with the foreign business navigators. We are far ahead of them today, but the immediate future is when, at our working group, we made a decision that there will be a new resource launched, which is called the vital situation. You don't find it anywhere. You know, I'm just fanatical from what is happening with us, because we are all businessmen with 20 years behind us. We couldn't even dream about having such a resource. So what you do, you log into this resource, and you can go through such a service as a checklist with any audit, that what you need to be prepared to say, a checklist when submitting an application for a loan, a checklist when submitting an application from some sort of a license. Yes, well, I also want to tell you that there will be advisory classes, master classes, electronic master classes. You don't find it practically anywhere. You can get into it and receive a complete consultation, then the templates of the necessary application forms, then the description of the time frame for application. A whole mass of information. Please use it. Just use it. And also simply just use your lip service, because nobody eliminated that, and it really depends upon us. The government makes this resource available, and so moaning is not good enough, and it's becoming a little bit suspicious whether you want to do really a good business against such a resource being available if something doesn't work out for you. Alexander Arnoldovich, I have a suggestion to make. Now, since Svetlana Orlov suggested that we should get together in the city of Vladimir, you should wrap up, because there are so many questions about the small and medium businesses, and we've been sitting for so long. Yes, you should finish, because people are leaving. Yes, please wrap up. Yes, the colleagues, then I should apologize, and I should apologize with Oleg and Igor Ivanovich. Yes. Let's go and visit with Svetlana Yurievna. She will really welcome us greatly, I'm sure. No, we're not going to try and summarize anything, because within every issue, enough has been said, and as far as the support for exports and possibly the banking and lending and the guaranteeing mechanism and the way the navigator is going to develop, we've got a lot of thoughts with Alexander Braverman about the electronic products and various applications. We got just so many ideas. You just have to really discuss it all quickly and dynamically. Yes, and apologize for making it an extensive session.